Hello X-Plane Captains, my name is Thomas Rasmussen and today we'll talk a little about basic X-Plane 11 scenery installation, scenery disabling, scenery uninstallation and scenery order. This is the beginning of a new X-Plane Basic series that I have planned for X-Plane newcomers and current X-Planers that may have specific questions or issues with things covered by the series. As mentioned, this first episode in the series will be about scenery installation, order, etc. While X-Plane 10 and X-Plane 11 follows the same rules, this guide will work for X-Plane 10 as well. So if you are new to X-Plane or if you are having trouble getting your scenery installed correctly, then this video might be of interest to you. One of the many benefits of X-Plane is that installation of scenery is very simple when first understood and is simply a matter of drag and drop. Therefore, it's not only easy to install new scenery, but it's also easy to disable it and uninstall it again, simply by deleting the scenery folder or by dragging it to a disabled scenery folder. The result is that there are no residual files after uninstallation and no alterations to the registration database, which leaves the full control to the user. First thing to know is, and this may be basic to some, that all scenery goes into the custom scenery folder of the main X-Plane folder. There are some very simple rules to follow when it comes to X-Plane scenery installation, and that is that the scenery order should follow certain rules. If you take a look at this diagram from the bottom, then you always want your mesh and photo sceneries below any other scenery, and that is because these sceneries blocks everything below them. Overlay sceneries such as OpenStreetMaps, city sceneries, landmarks and so on should always be placed above mesh sceneries. Furthermore, if an overlay scenery has an exclusion zone where, let's say, the city of Paris, for example, should exclude the underlying OpenStreetMaps of all of France, then it should be put above the OpenStreetMaps scenery. At the top of the list we have our airports, which should block out any overlay scenery below it, including the global scenery, which include all airports from the scenery gateway. Okay, now that we understand how X-Plane scenery order works, let's move on to how this is achieved in an easy way. The file that tells X-Plane in which order scenery should be loaded is the scenery packs.ini file, also located in the custom scenery folder. This file is updated every time we start up X-Plane. Now let's have a look at the way I maintain correct scenery order. This is my X-Plane custom scenery folder. X-Plane reads scenery in an alphabetic order, which means, and I know that this may be against some users' advice, but nevertheless it's the way I do it. We can simply rename our scenery so that X-Plane reads it in correct order. As you can see, here I have a disabled scenery folder with 3 zeros in front. Inside this is a Miami photo scenery. Then I have my airports, which I renamed to begin with an A. Then there are the default Aerosoft X-Plane airports, which I don't rename because then they will be re-downloaded every time I update X-Plane. And the same goes for the global airports. Then I have my overlay sceneries and different object sceneries that I renamed to start with an O, like Open Scenery X, Mr. X, Library, etc. The object sceneries could for that matter be put in any order, but for the sake of overview, I've renamed them to go among the overlay sceneries. Then I have my photo sceneries and mesh files starting with a C. What's brilliant about this method is that every time I install new scenery, then I drag and drop it to the custom scenery folder, rename the scenery folder to begin with A, O or C. Next, I delete the scenery packs.ini file, which is then created again when X-Plane is started up, ordering the scenery in alphabetic order. Now let's try and install a new scenery. I have here the scenery for Yankee Sierra Sierra Yankee from ISDG that I've extracted. Now I'll rename it with an A in front, and then I have a routine where I write the country, here Australia. Then we simply want to cut this folder and move it here to the custom scenery folder of Explain. The next thing we'll do is to delete the scenery packs.ini file, and then we just start up Explain. As you can see, a new scenery packs.ini file have been created, which is ordered alphabetically and thus with our scenery in the correct order. Now let's move on to take a look at how to disable scenery for later use. I've made a disabled scenery folder with 3 zeros in front, which makes it the very first folder in the custom scenery folder. If I want to disable our scenery that we just installed, then I simply drag and drop it from here and drop it in the disabled folder here. Then I delete the scenery packs.ini file, and next time I run Explain, the file will be updated again. The same goes if I want to uninstall a scenery, then I simply delete the scenery folder and the scenery packs.ini file. And then a new scenery packs.ini file will be created when we start up Explain the next time. That was all for now. I hope scenery installation and order is a bit more clear and that you could use the approach shown in the video. I'll be back with more Explain basics in a later video, so stay tuned. Once again, my name is Thomas Rasmussen. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time, and until then, take care.